It's June the 5th, 2024, and you know why you're here, so let's kick this off right and introduce the players. Hey, I'm Gerissar, a WoW esports aficionado.
Hello, I'm TreesapJake, and I'm a resummoned monkey pet.
Wait, I didn't turtle yet.
Oh, can you even turtle? Don't you mean deterrence?
Wah.
They got to get the right cooldown.
Right, well, you know, I've been playing a lot of DF still, and you're playing Cata Classic, so that which is actually kind of funny because I finally got around to leveling my hunter last weekend, or the week, the one that just passed. Yeah, right before they nerfed. They nerfed it. So yay.
Everything.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, it just prepares me for leveling a hunter now over on Cata, where I can feel powerful again, right?
You can. Hunters are very powerful, and even though their little gimmick has been stopped or is not present, it doesn't stop them being really strong.
Well, there you go. So hey, now I have something to do. I can. I'll be honest. For all the years that I've been playing World of Warcraft, I never really felt the need to play Hunter. Well, because I was playing Warlock, but I already had a pet class, so there was that. And then, so I did make a Hunter though when my daughter was born with her name on it, and then it just kind of sat there. Like I was trying Beastmaster, and I didn't like it. It felt weird sending off your pet and letting your pet do everything. But now playing Marksman, like it's fun. It's a fun class to play.
It is a fun class to play.
A
lot of damage.
Yeah, kind of wish I had gotten into it earlier, but oh well, better late than never, right? But
I'm still not going to forgive you for giving up on the Warlock, though. Well, trading in Warlock for fancier, more shooty class.
Well, I honestly kind of gave up the Warlock. Probably back in Legion, really, because Legion was playing DK more, and then BFA. I was trying to get into Warlock, but it's just so darn complex trying to track all the dots and everything. It was too much, and I also didn't like the whole PvE side of PvP in BFA.
Yeah.
And then kind of got into it a bit more in Shadowlands, but DF I just didn't really get into it. I was having more fun playing Prop Paladin and doing Mythic Plus dungeons than ... stand around.
Stand around, die.
Well, yeah. Because I've always been bad at kiting, so I didn't survive well. Anyway.
Well, this is the thing, right? It depends on what you're kind of playing. I feel like Warlock's one of those specs where you've got to kite around, whereas you could choose something else, like an Hunter, where you can just stand there.
Yep.
Or maybe Shadow Priest is your calling.
Maybe. Well, there was a period of time there where you could kind of just stand there and take it to the face as a Warlock, and then they nerfed Demon Armor and all that stuff too. So that's when you really had to kite. But yeah, that's then. This is now, and I want to hear Need, Greet, and Pass.
This likely won't be a clean fight, so keep your distance, eh?
All right, Need, Greet, and Pass. Jake?
Yes?
What do you have for us today?
So, I thought, seeing as we're talking about Cata, the only appropriate response is, much like many of the PvPers on there, still continuing to do PvE, is to choose the appropriate PvE content. And so this is PvE propaganda. I feel like you can't really talk about Cata without talking about some of the main parts of it. Like, Arena's going to be the same. Arena, we know what's what, but really the draw of playing Cata is going back and redoing something. So I thought, instead of talking about zones or talking about comps or anything like that, I thought I'd talk about something that we can kind of all relate to, having done these multiple times, whether it's current content, old content, whatever. Right. There is opportunity to do it. So it's a choice of Need, Greed, and Pass on the raids. So you've got Blackwind Descent, Firelands, and Dragonsoul. Those are the ones that I've kind of picked out as the kind of main ones. I guess you could kind of throw in there Bastion of Twilight as well.
Yeah.
if you wanted to, but we kind of say we'll see Blackwing Descent / Bastion of Twilight. Those are the kind of ones for that one, Firelands and the Dragon Soul, and kind of choose which one you would prefer, which one you enjoyed the most, which one you kind of would okay, and then I guess pass is actually just get rid of. So if you could get rid of one of those in your Cata experience.
Why
Why don't you go first, Gerissar?
Can I pass on all of them?
Yeah. No,
I mean,
you've got to choose the lesser of
the lesser of three evils.
lesser of three evils.
Because I did all these. I didn't do them well, but I did them all. Which one to need, which one to greed, and what? Shoot. See, now I feel at an impasse here. I feel handicapped because I can't remember which one had like the super awesome trinkets and gear that we needed for PvP. So, and I think that's really what matters. I feel like Dragonlands and Dragon Soul and Firelands were the ones where that stuff happened.
So you still got some of them in the kind of first tier.
Mm-hmm.
You've got like Bell, which is quite big, and then obviously in Firelands and Dragon Soul you get the legendary staff and legendary daggers.
Yeah.
So that's there.
Yeah, that's what. Okay, so yeah, so I think the staff came from Firelands, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So so that's why. Okay, so as a caster, I would have to need on Firelands. Then I did like Firelands. I enjoyed the thematics of the dungeon or the raid. You know, the first you have to kill a bunch of things to call on Sadronix and his two puppies, and then there was that lava monster with the two legs where you had to like steer him depending on which one you were damaging. Those were kind of cool. Spider boss was also kind of cool. A bunch of them. Yeah, I liked it. I really enjoyed like I said, the thematic of that raid. So I'll have to need on that one. I'm going to greed on Blackwind Depths. I did like it was the throwback to back to the whole Blackwing side and getting a bunch of that lore and whatnot. And I'm just gonna pass on Dragon Soul, mostly because I still have I still go in there and I still have PTSD of falling off the back of the dragon. I was so bad at that. We would roll that thing. I don't know how many times a night I was end up falling off. Like I wouldn't tether myself properly, or I don't know what. It was something. That was a hectic fight for me. And out of all of it, that's the one that I hate the most. That darn back of Deathwing and trying to get the armor plates off. I just couldn't do it. So that's my 3.
Okay, no, that's fair enough. I think they're very valid. I'm actually, to us, I think most people, from what I've learned, would actually put like Bastion of Twilight, Blackwind Descent as first, and then Firelands. Like they're good, they're both good, but most people say that the Bastion of Twilight raid is actually one of their favorite raids of all time. Yeah. So that's an interesting one for me. I'm going to shake things up a little bit, and I don't know whether you're going to hate me or not for making this suggestion. But
I can never hate you.
Good, because I'm going to need Dragon Soul.
Okay, I hate you.
Because of one thing only, that time period where the end times came out and we had that whole thing happen. I remember that vividly. Still. To this day, I still remember being 17, 18, having experiencing that firsthand. Like Wrath, TBC, Vanilla, I have bits that I know, but I wouldn't say I can still kind of remember. I can remember some bits of it, but Cata, like I was end level, I was doing end game content at that point, and I, despite being in school for most of the time, I was still able to take part in that. So for me, Dragon Soul actually is quite nostalgic. I'd always kind of remember that one. I remember having to go to the 2 different places on the other side of the pillar, going into the pocket zone. Like I did legendary quest on my rogue at one point as well. Not current content later on, but I quite enjoyed all of that. There's a lot to Dragon Soul that I did enjoy, but yeah, so I'm going to need that purely based off nostalgia factor. I'm then going to greed Firelands, and the reason why I didn't put Firelands above Dragon Soul is because I tried to do the legendary staff quest later on, and I never could, and it used to annoy me. So I was like, nah, not about that. Although it's very easy to farm the Firelands for mounts and stuff like that. I've gotten all the mounts now from there, so I was really happy with that. So that was cool.
Okay, now I actually hate you.
Yeah, which is nice. So I've got that. I think I got the Ragnaros one pretty much in one go. Very strange. But yeah, first kill on Ragnaros got me that. So take it.
Breaking news, Gerissar is looking for a new co-host for Technically PvP.
If you find my body somewhere, you know who to blame. So yeah, so that was the Firelands one for sure. Awesome. And I'm gonna pass on Bastion of Twilight and Blackwing Descent, mostly because I don't remember them much. I haven't done them. That my opinion might change, in the next sort of month or so. But those are kind of my feelings on that. I'm not necessarily too fussed by it.
Yeah. I honestly, I remember. Oh geez, it was probably over a year ago now. I was pissing around one day and I decided I was going to do a bunch of like old raid stuff, and it happened to be Cata, the one. So I ended up going to do Bastion of Twilight, and I hadn't been in there, I think, since the raid ended. Like I just didn't have a reason to. So it was definitely a blast from the past. Try and I actually died to one of the mechanics. I think I couldn't remember what to do. I like overgeared this thing and I still died. But,
easily done though. Easily done though. Sometimes.
Oh, some of them
you just underestimate it.
Yeah. Well, some of the stuff out there will still one shot you. And this was around the time that they actually started putting in a bunch of neat mechanics that I think they started doing, like instead of flat damage, they were percentage based and all that stuff. So like, yeah, if you're not paying attention, it can one shot you, or at least, or like wear you down pretty fast. So I recommend that. Even if you're playing classic, but you kind of want to, kind of remind yourself, jump into it in retail and DF and just go over there and oh yeah, you'll probably have a bit of a recollection. All of a sudden you'll get like a blast from the past walking in there.
Well, I mean, I know we said that I'm mostly doing Cata and you're doing retail, but every now and then I log into retail and just queue shuffle on my Shadow Priest.
Yeah.
And I've been consistently pushing. Yeah.
Oh, cool. Well, good on you.
So you know what? If you do all your dailies and all the things you need to do in Cata, finish that up and just queue some shuffle, gang.
Yeah. It's a smart thing to do.
Absolutely.
I don't know. Maybe now that I have that hunter, I just need to get the hunter some gear. So I need to get some honor gear on him in that, and then I'll probably start popping him into shuffle and BG Blitz and have fun with that. Speaking of plans for the future, though, why don't we talk about what's upcoming for PvP events?
Get in there and fight! Stop hiding!
Indeed. I should probably actually have precursored that with, and don't forget to hop on over to Twitter, hop on over to Discord and everything else, and tell us what you think about your choices for Need, Green, and Pass. I forgot
probably
to do that.
Should have done.
I probably should have. That would have been a good thing to do. As far as upcoming PvP events, there's a few things on the go right now. The first and foremost, as far as community events go, is our event, the 3v3 summer tournament that we're trying to put together, and that's happening on the 22nd of June. So links for that is going to be in the show notes, straight to the Matcherino page. So if you want to compete, head on over there, sign up to. It's a little convoluted because reasons, but sign on up. Ping us on our Discord. We made a Discord server just for this tournament and future ones because we're planning to do more. And you can ask us questions and we can help you out. And if you aren't going to compete, we're crowdfunding this. So again, head on over to the Matcherino, and if you want to, drop some bucks and help support the players who are going to be competing. The other things that are going on is the Great Push style tournament being hosted by Liquid, their Eve Ascension series that they do every once in a while. That's happening on the 29th of June. The tournament signups have already started, and I'm not sure how much longer they're going to go for. So definitely go check that out. And then there's the official Blizzard events. So there's the Blackwing Descent speed run that's going to be happening this weekend. So that's I think 2 EU guilds. Is that right, Jake?
I mean, your guess is as good as mine.
Okay, I think they are.
I assume.
Yeah, I think so. But so there's that going on, and then what else is there? Oh, there's the Katarina tournament. So I know there's some Twitter action on this just earlier today, just reminding people to sign up. So signups actually close this Friday on the 7th, and the event is happening on the 14th of June. And then after that, we have the MDI starting. Well, the Proving Grounds are going to be the week of the 19th. And then the actual Group A is not going to happen until the 5th of July. So we have some breaks there of events. But that's always a good go. I always enjoy watching the Great Push. Just because some of the things that people do in these tournaments are kind of wacky. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I really enjoy when things get weird.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, me too. There we go.
Love it. Love it.
Indeed.
What do you? I've got a question then.
Yeah.
What do you think's gonna be a big player in the Cata Arena tournament?
Oh,
What do you think?
Like what classes are we going to see?
Yeah, what comps do you think we'll see a lot of? I know that you haven't played much, but I just out of like from a nostalgic kind of thinking back, what do you think?
I want to say we'll see some turbo.
Okay.
I don't know why, but something tells me that turbo will be seen. I'm not sure. I'm not sure though. Actually, I can't even remember what was. Probably some jungle with the marksman and feral.
Yeah.
That's going to be kind of a given. Hmm.
Like if you to make a sort of just a random educated guess,
Well, that's
I'm enjoying your point about turbo, and I'll
Yeah.
come back to that.
Okay.
But
I don't know.
but yeah,
Like
let's say turbo.
I'm just kind of winging the things here. I want to say what's it? Warrior and DK. I kind of want to say that
TSG. Yeah.
And uh
Should I put you out of your misery?
Ret Rogue, Scooby Doo
I
or Cupid.
I don't know if we'll see. I'll tell you what. This is my opinion.
Okay.
Gerissar. I think what we'll see is I think you've made some excellent educated guesses there. Truly educated. Honestly, I actually think we will see a turbo. I think there'll be some enhancement shaman players that will come in. They'll kind of surprise you a little bit with the amount of damage output they do. But I think
I'll be surprised, but yeah.
But the main, I think the comps that we'll probably see are jungle for sure. Jungle's very strong. We will probably see maybe some TSG potentially. We're definitely going to see some RLS, so roguelock.
Yeah.
Another couple of comps that's really big at the minute are FLS, so feral lock, and then also Boomkin, LSD2, Boomkin, Warlock. So you'll see a lot of these. It's going to be an interesting one for sure because in threes, a lot of things die very quickly, whereas in twos, they don't die very quickly at all.
Yeah. Well, especially if I remember correctly, in Cata with twos, if you're up against a healer DPS, like especially if you're healer DPS, like that's going to be a really really long game, right?
Yeah,
like
that's pretty much what happens.
Twos.
I didn't remember that being a thing.
Yeah, it takes a while. I totally forgot about LSD2 with Boomkin. That's yeah, I've heard that comp for a while.
Yeah,
Interesting.
exactly. Like you would never do that. I mean, did you ever play LSD3,
No,
the old enhanced shaman boogaloo?
no, I've never done that.
That's a that's a mop comp, I think.
Okay.
From what I remember when I've played that sort of thing. But I think I played a little bit of that in WoD as well. But anyway, I, without going into too much detail, because obviously we have the wonderful subject of analysis to talk about. I just thought I'd ask
Hmm.
what you thought we might see in the Cata tournament.
Yeah,
But I'd like to be surprised. I would love to see a turbo. I think that would actually surprise me.
me too. I like Turbo. I think it's fun to watch. Right up there with Jungle. I actually really enjoy watching Jungle. But yeah, I think thanks for that. That was a bit of a brain stretch though. I don't feel
Mm,
so educated in those guesses, but surprise.
you got to be. It's got to be done.
Indeed. I guess since you kind of hinted at it, why don't we get into the subject of analysis though, and actually talk about Cata Classic?
I'm gonna light you up, sweet cheeks.
Alrighty. So yeah, Cata Classic dropped just a few weeks ago. Um, Everybody, I mean, there's a bunch of streamers that have been playing it. There's a bunch of people that have been getting ready for this Cata tournament that we just talked about for Blizzard. So the thing I noticed though, and I know Big was talking in our DM channel about this, is the fact it's not actually Cata Classic. Like when they first did Vanilla Classic, they tried to hold really true to the original experience, and they changed a few things. And then, BC they changed a few things, and Wrath they changed a few things. But in Classic Cata, like the way they're doing Conquest and the rolling cap is nowhere near the same it was back in original Cata. Hey,
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I remember I listened to Dakrov talk about it today. Apparently, you have to have a really high battleground score or something in order to, in order to get like the cap raised or something. I mean, I don't even remember what it was like in Cata. I barely understood what was going on. But I think this is the thing. People need to realize that this is not the same game. Like all the people that play private server stuff, this is not the same game. We've seen that Blizzard are willing with Wrath to change certain things. I mean, I don't know if you remember this, but in Wrath in the first season, everything was normal. The first kind of like way through, the first kind of like raiding tier, everything was normal. Then in Ulduar patch, they threw out these changes for Rhett and these changes for Feral that made Feral just go from being like nothing to something, at least in PvE. So, in my opinion, I think Blizzard are more than willing to kind of go about and actually like make some changes when they need to.
yeah, no, totally. I think I think we've seen that already in like I said, the past classic patches and expansions that they've re-thrown out there. They've definitely used their lessons learned and are improving on those in certain ways. I just found like this one in particular, like I think it's a great quality of life change. I really enjoyed that in Dragonflight, how if you missed out on a week, you weren't behind forever, right? Because you just had to play a little bit more the next week when you had more time, and you caught up, right? Or I mean, or if you're playing enough that normally you would cap and then still exceed if you could, and now you can just catch up. So I like the fact that there's never that feeling of missing out by missing a week or something like that, which is great for the PvPers. PvEers are still screwed because if they miss out on capping their Valor, they didn't fix that. So PvEers have to play
No,
every
they did
week or
not.
they're screwed. Yeah.
For once, it's the other way around. For
Right.
once, for once, it is the other way around. No, I think it's an interesting conversation really about the changes made for the classic community. I think realistically speaking, you could never make changes to original vanilla unless it was like a season discovery thing. There could be no way that any changes could be made because of that fact. Because everyone plays vanilla for it just to be vanilla, for it to be as simple and easy as it always was and always has been. And I think that's perfect. It just needs to stay that way. All vanilla needs to just be as fresh and as normal as possible, unless there is a massive clamoring for something kind of different. And I think it does need to stay that way. However, I do think that TBC, Wrath, Cata, Mop needs these extra bits and pieces to help you kind of get through the content and get things sort of done. Maybe less so Cata and maybe less so Mop. But I feel like some of the extra stuff to kind of bring some sort of extra bits and pieces to make the PvE process a little bit more streamlined, that kind of thing really helps out. So I think personally that's what they should do. And I know that in the next patch they'll probably bring out alpha dungeons as well to kind of help people catch up with gear and get gear from like Blackwing Descent if they needed to, kind of, or Bastion Twilight, all that kind of stuff. So that'll be there to help people catch up like they did in Wrath. So
Yeah.
and I think I thought that was a great addition. So there's a lot of good things to go from there. But yeah, I think they should never be afraid about editing the later expansions, because realistically people are playing it for two reasons. Number one, they're nostalgic of the raids and want to do the raids again as current content. Or number two, they're playing it to play PvP, and the PvPers don't care. They really don't care, apart from the fact that they want to play the game and they don't want it to be busted. They want there to be some sort of like balance, as it were. So realistically, it doesn't really change anything for PvEers to have like an extra dungeon that helps catch up gear, because it means they're getting into the raids quicker.
Yeah.
And for PvPers, getting to raids quicker is also good if you need PvE gear. So no, I think it's some really good quality of life changes, and I think the Conquest one in particular is very, very good. Because I mean, today an example is today I got my 8K, so it's 4K cap per week.
Yep.
8K. I got two pieces last week, and this week I got my weapon and my offhand, which is an extra buttload of resilience for me.
Nice.
So yeah, no, it's very good. So I think there's more opportunities for them to do kind of things that's positive. So I really enjoyed this one in particular. The Conquest cap being so big means that you can just continue to get gear and swap things out and get fully geared, and then just all that matters really is you just playing the arena and your skill set.
Yeah. I think the two things. One, there is a group of players that are also playing Cata because they never played it, or or they were too young, like they couldn't really play as in depth as they can now. So I think that's one other sect of the community that you kind of missed on that. And I know that they're jumping in wholeheartedly into Cata for that experience. One thing I totally forgot about this is that whole thing about resilience, and just how important that stat was too in PvP. I totally forgot about that thing in Cata. So thank you for that little reminder of resilient stacking. That was the thing. Now Cata I'm trying to remember, was it in Cata that we also had? We didn't have the ability to modify the stats on the equipment yet, right?
No, we do. Reforging is a thing.
Okay.
And actually, this is the thing, right? This is an interesting point about it, is reforging, because reforging is a thing. A lot of people are using it, kind of going, this is quite a useful thing to do, to kind of like edit your stats and be able to kind of give yourself more of one thing if you need it. Like, do you need more haste on this gear? Do you need more mastery? That kind of thing. You're able to adjust it. And I think it would be ideal for people in retail to be able to do that. Like, when you've got your PvP gear, sorry, you can adjust some of the stats if it's the wrong stats for you. Like, you don't need mastery, fine, just swap it with haste. Makes sense.
Well, yeah. The only thing that sucks though is in the raid after you kill a boss, the whole raid stops for 20 minutes as everybody runs off to sim what the best stats are, and then run to the reforger and drop 500 gold and then regem so that they can min max and then go back to the raid.
Well, I think that sadly is up to the GM of the guild, the raid leader, to decide to not let people leave when they've got new gear to reforge it. I think that's probably what's going to happen with With my guild, like reforging happens at the end of the raid. Makes sense. If you get new gear, just wait, because you'll want to gem it and enchant it and everything. Everything needs to be done. It can wait.
Yep.
Unless it's like really necessary for progress, or if you're progressing, then fine. But
yeah.
I don't think so.
It'll be interesting to see the Race to World first. They're actually streaming
That's what
it.
happened.
Oh, really? Well, tier 0. I'm talking like the real tiers. The
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
Right.
maybe. But still, they've still completed it.
Fair enough.
But oh well. It's all good.
Man, that's funny. I still remember that phase. We were, oh, this piece of gear is gonna make me so much better. Let me just run off, and it's like 20 minutes later, and a bunch of gold, and that was the enchanters. So then they'd all hop back, and or as a warlock, so we'd portal everybody back, and then we'd enchant them, and then off we went. It was just, it was a mess. I don't miss that stuff in PvE. Doing PvP at least. I don't know. I get the idea that if you're getting RNG gear, then reforging is handy that way, because you can take a piece that's not great for you and min max it at least to improve its utility for your class, your spec, whatever. But with PvP, it's deterministic gearing, so I don't see the need. I really don't. And if everybody is, if everybody's decided that, like I said, the bell, if that's the best trinket, then everybody has it. So it's all the same stats anyways. Then it comes back down to skill, maybe a little of RNG if you get a crit or something like that. But it's still, it becomes very skill based as long as everybody has the same stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like it's definitely a kind of skill based thing for sure, and then comp based stuff as well. Like there's, like for example, in the first season, obviously casters are weaker because of the haste levels.
Yeah.
Then melee kind of run rampant right now. So it's going to be interesting going into the later seasons of Cata to see where like warlocks get stronger and everything like that. So I'm excited to kind of see what happens with that one. But
Actually, you have a point, because Cata was when they really brought in a new type of balancing, and you really had your paper rock scissors in arena, right? Okay, so
you do, because Kitty is the worst thing I've had to queue into recently for sure. It's also well, yeah, I mean, in the sense that, well, put it this way, I'm playing FLS, so Feral Lock with the Shaman, and this is the expansion that Train Blue became a thing.
Yeah.
So when Shaman became much more prevalent, this is the expansion where it all kicked off. So your Kitty Cleave sits, and the TSG sit on the Shaman and just ride until the cows come home.
Fair.
And unfortunately, that's what happens. So you've got to be able to peel, and obviously warriors can't be peeled, which is at least by warlocks at least. So it's a difficult one. It's a very difficult comp, and they are strong, but obviously they get slightly weaker as time progresses.
Well, do they get weaker, or does everybody else just get stronger, more stronger?
I suppose maybe it's just everyone else gets a bit stronger. They don't rise nearly as hard. Like rogues, for example, aren't as strong at the minute. Like ferals are rampant right now because they do a load of damage and a lot of peels. So they only really, I think they get taken over by rogues later on down the line in Dragon Soul. So
yeah, which is again when they get the legendaries, right? Because it's the Lego the daggers that really take them over the top. Interesting. So what do you think about, and I'm gonna shout out Mortai on this, because me and him had a little chat about this, but I'm gonna raise this one as a point. The weapons, how they time gated them behind conquest. So if I remember correctly, weapons used to be time gated behind rating, where you had to get a certain level of rating before you could purchase the weapons. And then this time around, they decided to say, no, you just have to earn X amount of conquest, and then you can get the weapons. What do you think about that? And the fact that
it's an interesting one. I don't think it was a bad thing at all. I mean, honestly, like I got my weapons today. The time gate is not an issue at all.
Okay.
I really don't think it is. I think there's very little that kind of was an issue for me ever.
Okay.
And I think that it's nice that people couldn't just get weapons in the beginning, for sure. I don't think anyone batted an eyelid. You just buy some different pieces, and then this week you buy your weapons. It's really not an issue. So, personally, don't think it was a major problem at all. And I think realistically, like, I appreciate what Multi does. I really do. I really appreciate it. I just don't think this was the battle. This was the hill to die on. I think there are worse things maybe in retail to kind of worry about. I think maybe there's worse things in Cata to kind of worry about, because the thing is with those sort of the gatekeeping on the weapon is that it means that everyone's on the same playing field. You know, it's like if they were to open up Conquest, I'd be really upset about that, because suddenly loads of people get like full gear, and this is the problem I had when they did this in Shadowlands. So they opened up the Conquest thing. One day I couldn't play. I come back, everyone's fully geared.
Yeah.
You know, and for some people that meant the 2200, the elite stuff, which is a much higher item level and gives you that item level advantage over people. You know, that sort of stuff. Like it's sort of you've then got a major issue.
Yeah.
So
I don't think any conversation was about, let's remove caps and let people just grind out all their conquest in one day. I don't think that was ever. It was more just, on top of having deterministic gearing, which is gated by the cap, and then to have a weapon that is further gated, where if you don't PvE and all you do is PvP, then you're gonna have a really crappy weapon until finally you can get enough conquest farmed, and if you're not able to queue consistently and get a bunch of conquest, then you're kind of screwed. I think really this was more accentuated though by the fact that there was that bug, and there's people that were able to get conquest beyond cap of week 1 in like the first couple hours until they shut that down. And so people were able to just keep buying conquest gear beyond their cap, and now that allowed, actually, if I understand it correctly, some people to get the weapon in week 1 because they essentially earned enough conquest. And I honestly, that little problem is going to be over, or overtaken by events, I think, in the next little while, just because everybody's going to catch up. But it does create a bit of a power discrepancy. And yeah, I don't know. It's, I get what you're saying.
I would normally,
I don't know.
I would normally agree if it wasn't for the fact that you can literally get all your weapons in week 2. It's not an issue.
Okay.
It wasn't like in Wrath. It was worse than that, because in Wrath you couldn't get like the weapons unless you had a certain rating. You can get a lot of the gear unless you had a certain rating. This is the first time they've really unlocked it.
Yeah.
In it's the same in TBC. Like, talk about real gatekeeping. That's the real gatekeeping back then.
Yeah.
So
I remember.
So that's why I'd say personally that's the kind of stuff.
All right. So anybody just queue up, bash your head against people in arena, farm enough conquest, get her done, and then you'll be solid. That's all you have to do.
Well, I mean, to help those that are looking to get conquest, to spam arena, it's literally 250 conquest per win, and if you lose, you get 75. So you'll get the cap that you want very easily if you just queue for like 3 hours one night. I promise you'll get it. Like, I was shocked at how quickly I got 4K on the first week.
That doesn't sound fun though. Can you imagine slamming yourself into arena? Just
it's honestly, I swear to you, like, you're having a good time. It's I understand, like, I understand it from a point of view, but my Resto Shaman healer had a 308 weapon, and we were doing fine.
Okay.
Honestly, it's if you're worried about the weapons, get every single one of the PvP pieces and have like a 308 weapon, and then just play from there. Obviously, I understand if you've got to look for. If you haven't got like regular teammates, it's a bit more difficult, and you've got to find some people, so it can be rough. But a lot of people go into Cata knowing people. So, and I honestly don't think with the way that the catch up works, you're going to have a bad time really getting it, because it's not like it's like any WoW expansion. It's even like now, like you can step into the arena with full honor gear,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, you can save up for your weapon, but does your weapon make much of a difference? Not really. It's just more item level. And it's the
Yeah, I
same
guess.
in Cata, like a few
Yeah.
extra bits and pieces. So personally, I feel like you just queue it up, find someone, queue it up.
Sure.
Um,
Yeah.
so
I think that's that bigger problem is just trying to find teammates and play the way you want to play, and hopefully people are
exactly.
playing the same way you want to play. Because
Well,
like,
if you are looking for teammates and you are playing Cata Classic, may I recommend looking for your server Discord. There is a PvP section in there.
mm-hmm.
There are also dedicated PvP Discords. I know that Firemore has one.
Yep.
So if you're on Firemore for Alliance, or Gehenna's has one, you just go in there, you go into the PvP section, and you say, "This is my XP. I'm looking for someone to play with. I'm playing healer. I'm playing DPS." You'll
Yeah.
find someone, or if you look through it, you'll find someone, and that's
Sure.
a really good way of getting teammates if you're looking to
Mm-hmm.
do arena. But I understand, like, people come into Kata with different concepts and ideas, and I think majority of the players that are playing Kata do just want to do arena, because that's what they're living for. That kind of old school arena from Kata.
Yeah. I and I don't know. I heard a lot of people that or it seemed like a lot of people were excited to do RBGs again. Um, I wonder if it's just that anybody that likes RBGs are still playing Dragonflight, because whether you're playing Dragonflight or if you're playing Cata Classic, it RBGs is RBGs. It's still the same, different classes, but kind of the same gameplay, right? Same strategies and whatnot. Um,
Similar, yeah, for
mhm.
sure. Definitely similar stuff. I think it's um it's a difficult one because the RPG community suffer anyway from the fact that you don't really get anything from it,
Yeah.
which obviously they're
But
looking to
you get a
to
title.
change. No, yeah, you get a title, yeah, but people want mounts, and title was nice. I'm not gonna lie, but yeah, it's dead again because it's hard to get into the RPG community because at the
Hmm.
top end they're very toxic and they're very clicky. And then at the bottom end, it's so much harder to organize 10 people than it is to two other people.
Yeah, that's always the way.
Hmm.
All right. Um, I'm trying to think what else. What's so? What would you say if someone's like, "Okay, Jake, I want to get into arena again. I only have time to play Kata or Dragonflight. Um, what are the pros and the cons? Which one? What's the pros and the cons of playing Kata, PvP? I'll say arena, right? Because we're kind of focused on arena today,
Yeah, yeah.
versus and same for to Dragonflight. What do you say?
I would say the pros of Kata Arena are the pacing and the kind of style of arena. It's got a modern take with like as in, got like quite a lot of modern spells from modern WoW, but with the sort of like pacing of the older style games, and it's quite enjoyable. Like you definitely got more breadth of understanding. They last longer. A lot of it's about CC setup and rather than just kind of like pure unloading of damage. You've got different comps that are very viable. There's a lot of different comps that are viable, and that's really interesting. You can play jungle, FLS, RLS, TSG, Ebola, Kitty Cleave, LSD2, LSD in general. You could play MLS. There's loads of different things. Shadow play. There's lots of different comps that are actually viable for you to play. In the same way, there's a lot of them for Dragonflight, and I think if you enjoy the older style of game and you want to kind of do a bit of PvE here and there, explore the kind of new slash older world of Cataclysm, kind of get that experience, then it's kind of ideal for you. And my personal feelings are like, if the one reason why I'd want to go and do Dragonflight is solo shuffle, right? Solo shuffle, nice and easy. You get your gear, you queue it up. That's that. But more often than not, you're sitting like 10-minute queues. I'm not gonna lie, I could probably find teammates in about 2 minutes
Hmm.
if I went into the Discord or if I went searching for it. You can find it if you need to. I can't attest to how good they'll be. I really can't. They could be terrible, and that's that. But you know, if you just want to, if you're not got a lot of time, if you've got 2 hours in the evening and you just want to play something here and there, I would definitely suggest retail because of the fact that you can just press Q in the solo shuffle, and you know what, you might do like 2 or maybe 3. That's
Yeah.
fine. But if that's what you'll enjoy, then that's what you enjoy, and that's all you got time for. Me personally, when I come home, last thing I really want to do is just sit in the solo shuffle queue. I want to be doing stuff. I want to be
Yeah.
active. I want to be going out and everything, and that's the kind of main thing with it. But it's all dependent on how things go for you and what you kind of want to get into. But I enjoy both. I enjoy both a lot.
Okay. I like
I
it.
just think it's
Yeah.
the problem with it, Gerissar, is that you've got to kind of decide on what's worthwhile. Do you feel like you want to sit in a queue and get a couple of games in solo shuffle, but you don't have to look for anyone? You can kind of chill, watch some Netflix, that kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
and that's fine. Like I that's a viable thing. I did that all last Saturday. Last Saturday, I sat in. It was miserable outside. I whacked on some Netflix. I sat in a solo shuffle queue and I pushed up 500, 600 rating, and that was good. I enjoyed that a lot, and that was fine for me. Definitely didn't mind that. Didn't have to worry about anything. Kind of
Mm-hmm.
chill, kind of relaxed, and that's what you can do. But I think if you're kind of looking for an older starter game, looking a bit of nostalgia, kind of a lot of spread comps that aren't bogged down by maybe the kind of intricacies and random amounts of passives that maybe retail has, then I think Cat Arena is good.
Yeah. I think you kind of nailed it on the head there, though. It's a matter of tracking and team wise. So definitely Dragonflight has that solo shuffle experience going forward in that you don't have to fight to try to find teammates. You can play whatever you want to play, and it sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But you just pick your spec and off you go, and it'll get you a game regardless, rather than sitting in LFG and trying to find the comp that works, or the try to make everything work, or you know fight the uphill battle of people not wanting to take a D tier a spec, because whatever the perception is of the day,
Yeah.
regardless of what bracket you're trying to queue into. So I will say Dragonflight does have that going for it. I will agree though, the amount of passive buffs and all the tracking that you need to do, and the speed of the pacing, the pacing of the games in Dragonflight is probably one of the cons. Um,
I mean, an example of this is you need precog in
yeah,
retail. Like,
yeah, you do.
like it is without question. You need precog.
Hmm.
It's like you might as well just bake it into casters nowadays. Like it might as well just be a thing that you bake into a trinket for War Within, because with like you can give melee as much mobility as possible, but being able to fake cast and be rewarded for it is definitely something that's
Yeah,
needed. In Cata, I'm telling you, this is maybe one thing that would kind of put you off playing Cata, but for example, today, like you fake a kick, that's fine. You then have to fake all the others and grounding and all those kind of bits and pieces.
yeah,
If I get kicked by a mage or a warlock one time, that is 7 to 8 seconds of a silence that I just can't cast a single thing, apart from
yeah,
maybe like one of the other schools. But still, like you get blanket silence for about 4 seconds, and then you've got that whole lockout. So if you mess up a fear and everything like that, you get stuffed. And sometimes it can get chained, like can get kicked by one into another, kick by another.
hmm,
Nothing DR. It's just all terrible. So that you can get really punished by that sort of thing. Whereas on retail, you don't have that. Like the APM is massive. Like melee are just like going to town on you, and you've got to position well. You've got to get out of there, and you've got to make sure that you're kind of able to do damage as well as survive. But like without precog, it's just impossible to play ranged. So I think that's something that I'm quite enjoying in Cat, is the pace of like, you know what, if I get kicked, it's not going to destroy everything, but it's just going to mean it's going to delay stuff.
You really know how to sell this, don't you?
You say I really, well, yeah, I'm giving you the pros and cons. I'm giving you the honest opinion.
I love it. No, I love it. I'm just yeah, now I'm like, why am I playing DF? Dang it.
Yeah. Well, no, you can play both. That's the
Yeah.
joy of this,
Wow.
of this world of Warcraft that we live in.
True.
You know.
True. It just takes the time. So I still have to get in there and level up a character. So, things to think about. But I appreciate that. I appreciate the perspective. Actually, here, what about weak auras? So, like in Dragonflight, like weak auras are so prevalent. Like it's almost like you shall have a weak aura to alert you that somebody else pressed that button. Only because, good luck trying to see that icon amongst the other 50 that they have for all the passives buffs that they have going on that they pushed their frenzy, or I don't know, or I'm just throwing something out there. In Cata, how necessary is weak auras? How necessary is it to have that foghorn going off in your head saying that somebody pushed a button?
You can, but it's also kind of trained into you as well. Like you can have weak auras, and they definitely exist. It's more like you kind of want weak auras when you've got trinket procs, for example. That's the kind of thing for like snapshotting and making sure that you're getting your certain abilities up. Like that's kind of a thing that you can do. So yeah, for that reason and that reason alone, like you probably want some weak auras to kind of keep an eye on that. Otherwise, not really much. Like I suppose you can kind of track certain bits and pieces, but realistically speaking, there isn't much need for them. I think in the older style of the games, you don't really need weak auras as much because there's not as much going on. Like the visuals, you can kind of see when things are happening. You can see when Icy Veins is up. You can see when the Welly is out. You can see when Warlock's got Demon Soul, when Warriors pressed Wreck, that kind of stuff. So like things are very obvious. And that's quite a good thing. So the weak aura is mostly for your own tracking of things. It means that internally you're able to see, like instead of having to look up and check what buffs you've got, you can kind of keep track of it in a more chilled way. So
yeah, I totally forgot about snapshotting. That was still a thing in Cata with a lot of the classes.
Say that again.
I totally forgot that.
Edible?
No. What? I forgot that snapshotting was a thing back in Cata.
Oh yes. So I thought you said that there's a snapshotting edible thing, like, or you're eating like a snapshot. And I was like, what? Is that a thing you could do in Cata? I was like, tell me how.
I need to talk slower. Sorry. Oh my gosh. No, I totally forgot that was a thing though in Cata, snapshotting, where you recast once you have a certain amount of buffs, and it like snapshots at that time, rather than, if I'm not mistaken, in Dragonflight, most of the abilities will recalculate as buffs come up and drop down, right?
Yeah, that is a thing that definitely happened later on, like maybe Legion, something along those lines, or maybe even WOD or something like that. There, where it might be WOD, where the buff just kind of increased. So,
Interesting. Okay. What about spell? What's the term for it? I'm totally brain farting all of a sudden. Spell caching and was it when all the spells go off at the same time, when they like bucket and they, because that was the thing in vanilla and TBC, but I think they got rid of that now, right? Where you don't have your
like you had spell batching,
spell batching,
which was a thing, but they actually got rid of that near the end of Classic, for sure.
Okay, so that's not even, so we don't have to worry about that in Cata then. Okay, good.
No.
Alrighty, cool. I think so. I guess if anybody wants to play Cata Classic, I guess the only thing else, and just for a reminder to people, is if you are thinking about playing Cata Classic and you're like, leveling from 0 is just too much of a slog and I don't want to do it, there is that, you're giving more money to Blizzard, but you can buy that little epic bundle that they have, and it gives you a leveling boost. And at least then you're only starting, I think you just have to level through Cata Classic. You don't have to start from 0 again. So that's always that. So just a reminder on that. I only remember that because they gave us a couple codes to give away right when Cata launched, which was kind of nice. And you also get I can't remember what the cost of it is, but you get like the big one that has like 30-day game time, and you get a mount and you get a pet and a few other cool stuff. So, all right. Uh, Jake, is there anything else that you think we should talk about in Cata Classic that we haven't mentioned already?
Yes, there is. Yes, I think we should talk comps.
Oh, yes. Okay.
We talked about it a little bit before.
Yes.
I just thought a little extra thing to talk about. I feel like we should talk about comps, and the reason why I feel like we should talk about comps, and I think we should also talk about 2v2 as well and 5v5. But very importantly, I think there are a few things that I'd kind of want to mention on that before we just go straight into comps. But I thought it might be interesting for people that are listening, that are interested in Cata and kind of the situation and everything. If Big was here, having done all the skill cap guides and everything, I'm sure he'd give far greater insight than maybe that I have. But it's very interesting to note that getting rid of the titles from 2v2 and 5v5, and mostly kind of keeping that focus on threes means that threes is a very busy bracket, and twos and fives are starting to die. We're in the time period where that crossover is happening, where they kind of want to keep twos, but fives is kind of dying out, because realistically, people used fives as a means of getting more arena points or conquest.
Yeah.
And nowadays it's kind of redundant. Like, you'd push rating on fives so that you could get a higher cap the next week. That doesn't work anymore. So I guess you could do fives to get better, to get more, to get more more conquest. Fair enough. Possible opportunity for people who kind of maybe are struggling to find people. But again, like, nobody plays that bracket as much, so it's kind of dying out. I mean, twos people can do because it's easy, nice and easy. That'll never go. But fives, we're at the point where fives is starting to die. Like, why? I haven't even thought about fives. I thought about fives all the time in Wrath because I wanted arena points. But now we can't. Like, what's the point? So I think that's an important thing. And with the twos bracket no longer being in the running for Gladiator, you can still get other titles, but you're not for Gladiator. With that in mind, the main focus is the 3v3. So I was going to say, let's talk about some threes comps.
Sure.
And I'd like to caveat it and say, like, some of the best specs at the minute are for sure like Rogue, Feral, Fire Mage, Boomkin's really good. Like, there's a lot of stuff that's up there that's just very, very good, and you kind of whack them all together, and they work very well. So there's a lot of if you're kind of looking to play a melee, I highly recommend Feral. Feral kind of works with a lot of things. Feral works in FLS, so that's Feral Lock, Jungle, which is Feral Hunter, so Marksman Hunter, Feral
Yes,
Hunter,
Marksman.
Kind of thing.
Is
Marksman.
I thought it's only Marksman though, isn't it? I don't think.
I think Marksman is the best one. I think Beastmaster and Survivor are really bad. But I guess you could play with them. But yeah, Marksman is the main one. And so Jungle, you can play Ebola, which is Feral DK. You could play Kitty Cleave. Kitty Cleave is really big, so it's almost like a Zug comp, it's like Feral Warrior.
Okay.
You can play FMP, so Feral Mage. The versatility of what you can play with the viability of pretty much almost all specs feel viable, apart from some of like all classes feel viable. I mean, every class has a viable spec.
Yeah, but not all specs are viable.
But not all specs are viable.
I'm pretty sure. I want to say Shadow Priest was really good, or still in Cata, but not Holy Priest. Wait, unlike in DF where Holy Priest is actually really viable. I can't say, I don't remember it being viable in Cata. Am I wrong on that?
Holy Priest definitely isn't viable for sure. Okay. Definitely is not. But Disc is good. Disc is up there with Resto Shaman and Shadow Priest is viable. Strong at the minute, gets stronger as time goes on. So I think there's some really good. I mean, that's an example of where 2 out of 3 are good. It's the same thing with Druid. Druid, balance is good. Feral is good. Feral is the best. Yeah. Warrior, you've only got arms really. You've got no prot shenanigans or fury shenanigans at all. They nerfed that
to the ground, if I remember.
Yeah. Thank God, thank God. So you got classic arms.
Mm-hmm.
DK is good. Frost DK is all right. Doesn't hit nearly as hard as Unholy. Unholy's got so many different things. So Unholy tends to be the thing. I know that Blood was viable. It's really tanky and kind of in like triple DPS comps. It could be viable, I think, in the first season. So Ret Paladin's good. Holy Paladin's all right. Seems to do pretty well. So they're pretty
Yeah.
good. Hunters, as we said, we've only got Marksman Hunter. Warlock, you've only really got Affley. Affley's the only
Yeah.
really viable, at least on this end patch.
Ooh.
Rogue,
I wonder if we're going to see
Sub is
Shadow
the only one.
Play.
Yeah, Shadow Play's a thing for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if you'd see it played in this season because I just think like I think the double wizard cleaves are going to come out later in the season for sure.
Fair.
Just because of the output and the haste that you'll get. At the minute, I feel like the stronger comps are like FLS, RLS. I think
Yeah.
the only exception I say is that LSD2, so that's Boomkin, Warlock,
Mhm.
Shaman seems to be really strong, and that one I think we'll see a lot of. And it's surprising how much damage it does, just because Boomkin they pump so much damage all the time, like spread pressure everywhere. So
Yeah.
very
And
interesting of how intense it is and can be.
wow. And I just can imagine like Boomkin and their dots along with Affliction dots. Like there's just so many dots there. A healer can't. You're just gonna rot
Yeah,
away,
and
and they can't. They
and
can't
they've got
just
dispel
cleanse.
protection.
Yeah, that's right. Because UA, right?
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Okay. Um. Sorry, I totally interrupted you. So Warlock is only Affliction, not Demo. I thought Demo was pretty strong.
No, Demo got strong on one of the other patches, but we're not on that patch. So if we were to go, viably through each patch as it was, then yeah, you know what? Maybe I think you would see Demo, but unfortunately that's not the case. So
Okay.
it is just Affley. Shaman, the only really viable one is Resto Shaman. Enhance is good. I
Mhm.
don't think it's as strong, and Ellie's not as strong as well. I think actually Ellie's at the bottom of the three of them. So Ellie's not so great in Cata, just because it
Yeah.
loses its astral shift, which was the kind of stun defense that when you were stunned you took like 30% less damage.
Yeah.
So that was really good. Enhanced Shaman's got Shamanistic Rage, which is a minute cooldown, so it has something. And Resto Shaman is roided beyond belief, best healer ever. So there's 2 out of 3 that's kind of viable, but you can still play Ellie. It's just not. You just kind of got to find a comp where you're maybe not going to get run down. So
Hold
yeah.
on. I thought. Sorry, in Kata, did they? And this is just me being dumb. Did they break it where heroism/bloodlust doesn't work for the whole team?
It doesn't work in Arena as far as I'm aware. I haven't seen it. So,
Okay.
um, yeah, I think it's just it's not working or it doesn't work in the Arena at this stage.
Okay.
So,
Hmm. For some reason, in my head, I thought that in Kata that was still a thing where you popped. It didn't. I don't think it lasted as long or something like that, but it still popped and worked for the whole team, not
might be
just
an
for the.
OG
Hmm.
in the
Maybe.
OG Kata, maybe
Yeah.
might be a thing, but it's definitely not at the minute for sure in Cata
Yeah. Okay.
Classic.
Because all right. Anyway, but yeah, I guess that's the other thing because the mage also has that, right? They have their time warp. That's what this is. When a bunch of other classes other than shaman uh got haste buffs like that, haste cooldowns.
Yeah, it is. It is again also not usable in Arena, but
Hmm.
it's this is the thing, right? Like I think there was a trinket that allowed you to use it in Arena or something in the original Cat. I remember someone saying this to me.
Okay.
Like there were lots of stuff that allowed you to do kind of weird stuff that obviously we
Hmm.
don't have. So we don't have the same experience. And I was actually just thinking about this. This is an interesting point to make. Whether or not actually when let's say for example they go from cat to mop and then they stop at mop classic, at the end of mop classic that is the end of classic. You're not going back to wad, we're not going through to legion, blah blah blah. That's not going to happen.
Okay.
Although I think wad would get the kata treatment, which is that people would actually find they probably enjoyed it
Hmm.
a lot more than they did to take us all the way through to legion. Would I do that? I would. I would hope not. I would think I'd be so fatigued doing that. I don't think that would be possible. Would I play WOD? I probably would. If they did it, I probably would do it. I would play Mop and then WOD for sure, just to play Enhancement Shaman again. But I really hope they don't. I really hope they finish at Mop if they do Mop Classic.
Really?
So, yeah, I hope they do, because Mop for me is the last time they had that really good. It was the last very great PvP expansion. Apart from maybe Legion. Legion was pretty good, but Mop was the last one, and the OG really good arena season. So I think that would be a good place for them to stop. But anyway, let's say that they don't. Let's say they stop at Mop, and they do a reset. They go back to fresh. They make a fresh server, and then they're like, okay, from our fresh server, we're actually going to go back into TBC and repeat. I think what they should do is they should do it where instead of it being the end patch, they should actually do it patch by patch.
Sorry, say that again.
Well, so let's say they go to TBC, instead of doing it sort of as it's all going to be on 2.4.3 or whatever it was, the last patch. Instead, they take us through those individual patches.
Oh,
so with the changes that eventually happen, knowing full well that what's going to happen, I think that'd be maybe it's a bit of a rogue thing to say, a bit of a kind of off the wall kind of suggestion, but I thought it'd be really interesting, to kind of shake things up a little bit. Yeah, you know what, it is TB Classic, but this is the real TBC Classic. We're going to add all the extra bits and pieces we've done, but then also balance stuff based off how the patches were before. I think it'd be quite interesting. I don't know if people would play it though, so it might not be worthwhile, but it'd be an interesting venture for sure.
I think they would have to definitely let people know, because everybody knows what the bugs and what was broken before it got fixed. So
well, I mean, fix the bugs. I don't mean don't fix them. Have the bugs fixed for sure, but implement the patches as they were, sort of with the class balancing kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. That'd be
an interesting thing to see.
Yeah, it would be. Your audio just got really weird.
Oh, what happened?
I don't know, you sound like you're moved to the other side of the room or something.
Oh no, I did actually move slightly because my my wire was trapped underneath my chair, and I was trying to subtly kind of not pull everything out.
You sound like you're
untangling stuff. Yeah, I was like, whoa!
Microphone dynamics, those are fun.
They are fun.
So comp wise, I think you have a really great point though. Is that yes, there's a good number of viable specs out in this version. Definitely a lot of viable comps, and I remember that from Cata originally, is that there wasn't one comp was king. The best players of that comp were the best. It was definitely a bunch of viables. There's definitely some paper rock scissors. There was definitely options that people could play with, and that made for a really great gaming experience. So I look forward to people having that same gaming experience, and really hope they get that. I remember I popped in on Markers. Markers was playing, and he was trying to get in some games on his druid, but he was having a really hard time because apparently some tier list was put out that had Resto Druid as low tier, and so he's having a hard time with that, which I was sad for him. Is Resto Druid really that bad?
They're not great. It's the one expansion where actually the rest of druids aren't the best. I think that's the thing. I don't know. I just think they just don't have the same output that a lot of the other specs have.
What if it's just is this just a stat thing right now, and then they'll get weighted heavier to then do better?
I think they might do slightly better later on, but it's not a lot. I think this is one of those expansions where they just aren't as good. The HOTS aren't as strong as other people's, so
that's unfortunate. And I know how much he loves playing as Resto, so
he does.
Oh well. I think one other thing, I totally forgot to put this in the show notes, but I remember now as we're talking, Bear It and Hold. So they recently announced that was going to have 2 lockouts. They're going to have 10-man and 25-man, or 10-person, 25-person lockouts.
It does.
Which is different than before. I know a lot of people were really surprised by this. How much of a difference would that make for people to gear?
I mean, it's a very good thing because it means that you've got two opportunities to kind of get more gear. There's more chances for PvP gear to drop. More chances for you to get raid gear.
Mm-hmm.
Nice and easy. I think it's awesome. I think it's a positive sign for things to come. But yeah, Barrett and Hole having that one. I never understood personally why they split the 10 and the 25. Why they connected them in that way. Like, I understand it was to make things easier for guilds, but I feel like,
Well, it's burning out raiders.
yeah, I know, I understand. Like, trying to find that amount of people, I feel like it's a bit of a weird one for maybe Cata. Like, just kind of make them separate, but because most guilds will just do it 25, but some won't. I guess some will just do the 10 man.
Oh,
I
no.
understand that. I get it.
A lot of guilds went full degen, where they would take their 25 person raid, they do the 25 person, and then they split it into 2 10s, and 5 people got dropped into the bench, and they'd run 2 10s. And so guilds were running like both raids twice, essentially, and it was like, that's like 30 hours of raiding a week and stuff. It was
That's
crazy.
crazy.
Mm-hmm. That's why they did it, because players can't help themselves. Which anyway, I think I personally like doing a PvP realm, like a map like Buried and Hold, like Wintergrasp. Do this PvP zone to get access to basically a loot pinata raid to get drops. That's so much better than a vault.
Yes. I mean, is it though? I feel like Vault, at least you're guaranteed some gear, but like I think later on it just means that kind of like there's no catch up, right? Like, realistically speaking, like the catch up for the Vault system is you just queue on your alts. Whereas I guess with that, it's a different kind of progression based thing, and I like it. I like the old style of doing things. I think it's a very interesting way of doing it, and I think it worked for the time period. And you forget how revolutionary WoW was back in the day. You forget like all of this stuff that we kind of take for granted now was just so ahead of its time, and they still are. Like, in terms of the MMOs, like WoW is always so far ahead on a lot of things. Maybe less so on kind of like player housing and stuff. But there's a reason why people can't stop coming back to it, and the reason why is because the game just plays just so well. It's so smooth. It's so good. So that if there's one thing that I would very much give Blizzard hands off to is just the way that they're able to just create such a dynamic game that's just so enjoyable to play, like, all the time. So, and I'm really happy about that. But it's just that fluidness I don't get anywhere else.
Yeah. The one thing I love about World of Warcraft is the world fluidity. Like, every time you move zones, like, it's completely fluid. You don't even notice. Sure, like, you have to do loading screens when you get into instances and stuff like that. But I was playing another game with my wife recently, and every time you so you have like the set map area you're working in, but anytime you move to other spots, like, so if if you go into the underground of the spot, if you go into this temple, if you go into the other map, it's always loading screen. And I'm like, oh, I miss that about World of Warcraft. Like, that is what really made WoW super. It's just that.
Which game did you play?
It's called Palia.
Oh, I've not heard of that. Is that an MMO?
Yeah.
Oh.
We'll talk about it offline. I don't want to talk about another game on our WoW podcast. But yeah.
No, true. Fair enough. For viewers, forget you ever heard that name.
It has no combat, right? Like, there's no combat in it, so it's all. Imagine World of Warcraft without having, like, no fighting, other than like killing creatures for meat and.
I'd say that the name is poorly placed. World of Warcraft. World of Peacecraft.
Yeah. So Palia is basically like World of Farmcraft. It's it's a fun game. But okay, so I guess that's the other thing. So thank you. Chat did confirm that to their recollection, Buried in Hold did have 10 and 25 person lockouts back in original. So this is exactly the same. It's just maybe the other people I saw on social media and other places had forgotten that, and so they were shocked and surprised when Blizzard confirmed that it had 2 lockouts. So be it. It is what it is. I think that's it. I think we're pretty much covered everything there is to be about Cata Classic. So I hope those who are playing it are enjoying it. I think those who are on the fence, get in there, have fun, enjoy either the nostalgia or playing it for the first time. Either way, I will say the PvP there was memorable as being good, and you will enjoy yourself. I think so. I think the one thing is the one thing we change. So I'm going to ask you, Jake, if you could talk to the devs directly and they offer you what's one thing you would change about Cata Classic, what would you do?
Oh, I think it would be access to raid level trinkets with PvP. To be able to grind conquest and utilize them for the raid trinkets, so that we don't have to do PvE.
Okay.
That's what I'd do.
All right. You know what I would do?
What would you do?
I would add conquest and valor exchange boxes or badges.
That's also great. That's a great suggestion.
So if somebody happens to do PvE for, if they're doing everything, then they can, take some of their valor and switch it over to conquest if they want, and vice versa. And it will go above cap. So
that sounds amazing.
Yeah. Of course, a bunch of PvEers are going to complain because now all of a sudden they're going to have to suddenly PvP in order to get enough valor, in order to do their PvE stuff. I don't care. I think that would be great. But Blizzard, pay me money. I have ideas. All right. I think that covers it. Let's get into the WoW PvP news and roll this show out.
All right. Who ordered up an extra large can of whoop ass?
I love that sound bumper. So PvP news, as far as past events, we had Raider.io did their Pro-Am charity event. We had announced about this earlier in the month. So that happened back on the 25th of May. Huge congrats to the Big City Slickers. Great team. They took first place by 1 point over the second.
Oh, so wow.
Yeah.
1 point.
Just one. And yeah, it was not close. No, it was totally close. It was like by milliseconds based on, I think, like the second place had like a plus 16 key and they only had a plus 14 key, but they did the 14 faster. And then like some of the other keys, it was like 15 over 14. So it just mathematically, it worked out to like enough that it was 1 point over. So it was crazy. I think the real winner, though, is the 6 charities that were being supported by the Pro-Am charity. And that event alone raised over $36,000 for the 6 charities. So huge kudos to them. And I think that's really the biggest winners out of this event. And always happy to cheer on the teams and happy that worked out. So hot fixes. There wasn't really a hot fix, but there was some class tuning that just happened in retail. That just happened, yesterday, really. Forgot yesterday was Tuesday there for a second. So
well, technically it's today. Technically yesterday, actually. If you were, it was Wednesday. My dudes.
Yeah, true. Oh, EU? What?
EU?
Ew. Are we talking about ew? All right.
Ew?
So I think the biggest ones here. So we had a few buffs to Survival Hunter with their 4 piece. A little bit of a buff to Holy Paladin, both PvE and PvP. And Hamson Shaman got a pretty much a 10% buff across most of their main abilities. Chain Lightning, both the shocks, Nova. So good for them. And Warlocks got a slight buff in reduced mana cost in their Fear and their Gateway. So I think those are all some really good changes. The other ones that a lot of people were talking about in PvP, Demon Hunter, Havoc Demon Hunter, their damage, they were nerfed 4% straight across the board on all their damage. And Demonic Wards now reduces magic damage only by 5% instead of 10%. So I think those two are some solid buffs, or nerfs to Demon Hunter. And I think many people were kind of thumbing their nose, if you will, at the 4%. It still seems like the devs are being very careful and methodical in their nerfs to Demon Hunter. I feel like, and I feel that's fine, but they're also there's so much time between PvP tuning that it almost feels like it's going to be it's going to take too long for them to get where they actually need to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, everyone remembers early Dragonflight when they were just tuning all the time, and it was great. It was really good. They kind of managed to sort of get things under control, but realistically speaking, they've just kind of stopped. Really, I noticed it stopped since the Ret rework. They did put a lot into the Ret rework, and they just sort of kind of collapsed because, let's face it, that wasn't a great time for WoW PvP, which is sad because actually, realistically, the beginning of Season 1 was amazing. So,
yeah. I think two things. I think the devs were already by that time working on the straw, the skeleton diagram of the War Within, so developing that. So I think that's why. What irks me the most is that whole the Paladin rework that made Rets uber powerful because of all the stuff they threw into them was well warned, but the devs just for some reason didn't see what the suggestions were or what everybody was warning about, and just like blindly threw out what they threw out, and it then took a while to get back to, for whatever reason. So
yeah,
but you're right. I will. I think Big, though, if he was here, would probably counter you in saying how horrible those weekly changes were, because like literally, I think he scrapped a ton of content onto the cutting room floor, if you will, of his apartment, because he would like make a video or make a tier list, and then a change would happen, and it would just scrap everything he just did for the past week trying to get content out for Skill Capped. So I think he's enjoying the slower pace at least a little bit in that.
No, I remember our discussions about that for sure.
Oh yeah, no, it was good. They were good discussions, but yeah. So let's hear what else. So Balanced Druids, they had a pretty interesting rework. In Frenzy Regeneration got nerfed by 3%, which doesn't sound like a lot, but instead of healing 8% per second, it was 5% per second now. And that's because they recognized that there was a little bit of a powerful change there with some of the work they did for Feral Druids. So Balanced Druids kind of pulled back, reined in a little bit. Restoration Druids got a damage buff, which is kind of weird. I'm not sure if they needed that, but okay.
2v2.
Yeah. Paladins, a bunch of their in PvP got their damage and their healing buffed as well. And then Priest, I think this one's pretty big. So the mental agility ability that was to reduce the mana cost on Mass Dispel, Purify, and Purify Disease was 50%. It's now 25%. So that's going to cost them way more mana. So that should help with some of the mana disparity issues we're seeing in PvP. Well, I don't know. I haven't heard anything yet. Maybe they're just not casting Mass Dispel as much because now it costs more. And Holy their Holy Fire direct damage is now was nerfed by 20%, so they're not quite the same damage bot that they were before with that. And Chastise is now only reduced by 1 second per talent point by Vice instead of 2 seconds. Sorry, Voice of Harmony, not Vice, Voice of Harmony. So that just means Chastise stun is a little bit reduced, which is good. Oh no, sorry, not the stun, the cooldown. Sorry, I'm having a hard time reading this. All of a sudden, I feel like I'm stumbling over words.
I remember the first time I learned to read. It was
Thanks, Jake. Once again,
That's
technically PvP. Gerissar is looking for another co-host.
we are looking for another co-host. There appears to be one missing.
Ooh,
ooh, burn.
Big's just busy today. He wasn't able to make it. So, and I think last but not least, this is an interesting one that Subtly Rogues got a damage buff in Rupture, Backstab, and Gloom Blade.
Looking to buff their sort of consistent damage.
Was that necessary?
I mean, they're pretty poo outside of anything else, outside of their burst. I wouldn't say. I mean, I have not seen many sub rogues. I mostly see Outlaw Rogue and Asa Rogue. So, will we see more sub rogue? Who knows? I mean, the main thing is that Holy Paladin gets a buff, and then Demon Hunters and Boomkins get nerfed. That's important.
True. I don't know. I feel like Sub Rogue is still really good. Their burst is so good. Like if you're gonna buff their consistent damage, then maybe nerf their burst a little bit. Or am I?
Yeah.
I
just think they should keep the niches. If Sub Rogue is going to be a blaster, they should maintain it as a blaster for sure.
Yeah. Okay, and then so that's really it for hotfixes that we're aware of. I think the next thing up is so if anybody doesn't know, the War Within beta went live today. So anybody that pre-purchased is able to get in. It's automatic invite to everybody. So cool. And with that, so there's some new patch notes that came out. I think this is the beta. So again, a whole bunch of these notes, they're cool. They have some really neat things going into the game and where they're going with some of the class designs. I'm not too plussed about it because obviously it's still beta. They're still able to make a bunch of changes. I think, and we're talking about this offline just earlier, Jake.
Mm-hmm.
Warlocks. So I know Lika is very vocal about this on Twitter, but for demo locks, like, why are they being so like literally like quadrupling down on this Shadow Bolt caster of demo lock for the War Within? Like, why? Why do you think that is?
Well, I mean, an example of this is when we take a look at the results of the PvP interview that we did, right? Like, I think, well, at least you guys did. I had the unfortunate possibility of not being able to do it, but the thing that I got from there was that, you know, they were doubling down on some of the choices from that as well. Like, I think there was a lot of stuff there where it was kind of like, yeah, you know what? No, we think this is right. Like, they clearly think that this is the right path for them.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they think that this is what they want. You know, so
I wonder if this is just on like for how many people went back to Classic and where we're at with again Classic Cata, and just how people were playing Warlock then, that they're like, oh, people really liked Shadow Bolt spamming, so we're going to go back to that, back to the core of the class. Is that it? Is that what you mean?
I mean, what I was saying before about that was that there may be some nostalgia aspect from like Cata and Wrath, where in PvE you would load up your dots and then just spam Shadow Bolt. Like maybe in this case it's get all your pets out and then you're rotationally pressing Shadow Bolt, and I'm like, that's just not fun. And then from a PvP point of view, it's even worse. Like sort of you think about all the huge amounts of melee that just come at you and just have so much mobility and everything, and it's about to get even worse in the War Within. And you're trying to like, okay, yeah, can I make room to even cast Shadow Bolt? It's like you don't have any room. It's just you're killing any desire for anyone to want to play this spec
Yeah.
by just really like quadrupling, quintupling, just over the moon and back, just doubling down on this stupid concept that they need to press Shadow Bolt.
I mean, they will have precog.
They will, but like you're not gonna fake precog so you can cast Shadow Bolt. It's stupid.
Yeah. I think the hardest thing here is that you're going to be like, okay, I'm casting Shadow Bolt. Oh, I juked the kick. I got precog. Oh, now I'm stunned. Oh, now I'm feared. Oh, now I'm stunned. Oh, now I'm incapped. Oh, now I'm dropped. Now I'm micro CC'd. Precog fell off.
And
now I have to juke a kick again to try to get precog to hopefully get a cast off.
well, this is the thing, right? You're okay when precog's in there, but what happens a lot of the time is that you go to fake a kick and instead they use one of their 3 different stuns on you when you faked a couple of times until the end of the cast. So then you've got that stun that stopped you from doing anything. Then you've got to actually fake the kick again because you haven't finished faking the kick. They've just used a stun on you. That in retail that doesn't work. Maybe in older expansions it's fine. Like they've used a stun on me. That's fine. I can load up my damage later. We're all good. In retail, it's all about APM. It's how much buttons you press as quickly as possible, as fast as you can, and unfortunately, that's the situation.
Yeah, I mean, like last episode we were talking with Caliph there, and he was even saying he's like, I don't bother kicking because it's more guaranteed I'm going to stop the cast with the other 5 different CCs I can do as an assassination rogue than do a kick.
Yeah.
Like you said,
why would you bother?
Yeah. Why risk giving precog when you can just do a whole bunch of other CCs and just stop it and guaranteed, right? So anyway,
exactly.
It's just, that's so interesting. And and yes, chat, it's very possible that they're not even thinking about PvP. It's very PvE and this whole tier that they have for the first tier of War Within. So, I mean, it's clearly like maybe they're like, it is what a thing, and that class is just not going to be viable in PvP for that patch, and maybe they're willing.
So they've decided.
That. Yeah, maybe they decided that, and they're fine with that. Maybe, who knows? We'll have to ask Gadev next time we talk to him.
Next time.
I'm
going to be there.
He better. I think the last thing is being the beta's out. They have this in the show notes saying that the rated Battleground Blitz is enabled on the beta for queuing, and with that, it talks about what rated Battleground is, and the map pool will be the same as the Brawl version, with the addition of the new Battleground Deep All Ravine, which we still need to get into. I am getting hot off the presses, though, is that apparently it is not enabled, that rated PvP is not enabled on the beta. So maybe it was meant to be and they oopsied. So hopefully they realize that when when the devs listen to this, right? Because they listen to us. No.
Fingers crossed.
Well, we'll see. Hopefully between us and all the other people out there that are noticing that rated PvP is not actually enabled on the beta, that they will enable it to allow for that. So, we'll see. We'll see. Hopefully. So that's it for the news. I think that's it for the show. Holy moly. That was a great show.
It's gone by fast. Been fast, actually. It's gone by really fast.
That was the fastest 2 hours I can think of. And that's probably because it's only been an hour and 30 minutes. So, it is what it is. That's all good. I think that, though, wondering, Jake, shout outs. Who would you like to shout out in the world today?
Oh, you know what? I'm gonna be shouting out my man Bobby DK. I think I've been helping him out a lot in the last few weeks. If you want to go check him out, it's Bobby DK1 on Twitch. Guy like just slams RPGs all day, every day, both Cata and retail, and just works hard. He's been on the show a couple of times.
Yep.
Just works hard. The boy knows what he's talking about. He's a very nice man as well. Like I highly rate him as an individual person. So really good guy to hang out with. Very competitive though, so you gotta bring your A game. But yeah, really nice dude. Yeah, so appreciate him a lot.
Nice. That's a good shout out. Now I feel ill prepared.
Are you having to think?
I kind of am a little. I think really though is what I'm going to do is I'm going to shout out all the wonderful streamers who I dropped in on their streams just recently. I dropped in a whole bunch of people pointing out the fact that we have a tournament that we've organized and just asking, if they saw it, and they did not. So they allowed me to link it into their chats, which was really nice. So it got not just them knowing, but other people as well, their viewers. And so I appreciate all those people who gave me their moment of time as I occupied their stream briefly to ask, basically in front of a, not like asking a person in front of a bunch of other people that are watching specifically what their answers are and everything. Hey, are you going to play in my tournament?
Can you please play in my tournament?
Yeah, it was a little dirty probably, but they were every single one of them was courteous to me. Oh, sorry, not most of them were courteous to me about it. But yeah, it's hopefully we get some people. I really hope we do.
I mean, if it'll inspire you at all, just know that me and Big are going to be doing some commentating, shoutcasting. So
yes,
I think that's something to look forward to. Hear these dulcet tones talk about cooldowns.
Indeed.
There's a lot of damage coming this way. I think damage is coming. There's a lot of damage coming out of this Ret DK. I mean, Ret Rogue. I mean, this Ret Warrior. There we go. There's an example.
I should actually, in all seriousness, the best shout out I could probably give is to a listener called Stastro, Joe. Mm-hmm. He's on the show a long time ago. Me and him did RBGs way back in the day. And yeah, he actually, as soon as he saw that I did the tournament, he dropped $20 onto the prize pool. So,
oh, that's lovely of him.
Yeah. So I think that's probably the best shout out I could probably give. All right. Outro. Jake. Tell people where they can, those who are already listening to us, tell them where they can find us again.
Well, I can. Yeah, sure, of course. I mean, if you want to contact us directly at all, you can do so with a tweet to @technically_PvP or by an email to technicallypvp@gmail.com. And you can also join our discussions on the Bonus Roll Productions Discord. So head on over there, join the Technically PvP side of things. And if you want to, you can also visit the Bonus Roll website to find the podcast directory. I know we've had some people ask before about where to find WoW specific podcasts, so that's where you can find a lot of them. And obviously there's a lot of great shows there, so you just have to go to www.bonusroll.gg. Very easy. This directory also has a review system, so if you listen to them and you head on over there, you can tell everyone what you think of your favorite shows, especially us. Go let people know what you think.
Indeed. And as always, links for everything we talked about will be in the show notes. I want to thank everybody for listening, and we'll chat with you next time. Good night, everybody.
Good night.